We had flat growth for the last 15 years. We're now seeing something like 2% load growth. And in our state, a lot of it is transportation electrification. I'm also chair of the Edison Electric Institute, which represents the investor-owned utilities across the country, about 70% of the load. 2 years ago, EEI members were forecasting something like a 2% load growth over the next years ahead. The most updated numbers are 4.7%. Wow. And I have colleagues in some states that are seeing 5, 6, 7%. So who's calling? It is electrification in places like California, more broadly across the country, but I think we're more leading edge there. It is data center growth, which you've read a lot about that. And then it's also the repatriation of manufacturing. The bipartisan infrastructure law is working, and it's bringing back a lot of manufacturing into the country, and that's another source.
Oh, interesting.
So can you, being your company and your industry, can you handle that increase in load?
Yes. There will be some. Yes, and there will be some bumps in the road, right? I was sharing with Alex earlier that it's not the first time in our history of the industry we've seen this, right? Rural electrification, air conditioning load. So we've lived through these periods. It's been the last 15 years or so that it's been fairly flat. So how do we handle it? In the near term, right, you see a lot of focus of utilities working in their various regions, power companies, working with regional transmission organizations, and working with customers too, make sure we're using every tool available. Demand side management is important. Energy efficiency is important. But so is making sure that we can maintain and in some cases expand existing resources. And ultimately, we need to add new resources to the system.
How do you pay for that? Because as yields have moved higher, stock moves lower, and then it's more expensive to borrow. How do you do it?
Well, it is an investment in infrastructure that's needed. And this is an industry that's been investing for a long time. Our members at EEI have invested over $1 trillion over the last decade on infrastructure, $168 billion last year alone. Right?
So that's eventually the ratepayer, right?
It is eventually the ratepayer, right? And so we have a responsibility to make sure that that investment is economic, is being done thoughtfully, is being done efficiently. But importantly, this investment has multiple uses, right? There is the near-term need to keep up with demand, but there's also the longer-term need for investing towards decarbonization, right? And the industry's been going as clean as we can, as fast as we can, but while maintaining reliability and affordability. And so those investments are the same investments that are needed to build out the transmission grid, to add renewable resources, to add storage, and that helps with climate change mitigation. There's also investment that we're needing to put in to deal with climate change adaptation. Right, the effects of extreme weather, the effects we've seen initially in California and now across the country in wildfire, right? So my own company has been investing billions of dollars to redesign the system to harden it against wildfires. Other colleagues are having to do that now. So all of these investments accrue to the customer benefit, whether it's to keep the system safer, keep communities safer, and also to support the demand growth that we're seeing.
So Pedro, just before earlier this morning, Alex and I spoke to David Crane, Undersecretary for Infrastructure at the U.S. Department of Energy, and he said one of his major goals over the next several years is to make permitting easier, so presumably to allow companies like yours to make these investments and maybe in a quicker manner. Are you seeing that, or what do you need to see?
Absolutely needed. Okay. And so if you gave me a magic wand and gave me one wish for the industry, it would be that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't blame you.
All right. And we have other challenges, supply chain, labor availability, but it's really siting and permitting that needs the most help. Just to frame it for you a little bit, Paul, the analysis that we've done as Edison for California and what will take to decarbonize the whole California economy by 2045, it's a state's net zero goal, still feasible, right? But it will require significant investment for renewables, for storage, for the grid, $370 billion of investment statewide through 2045. That analysis, by the way, from an affordability perspective, back to your comment earlier, Alex, we do see that will put pressure on electric rates and bills, but because it's a transition, right? A lot of that electrification will be removing uses in the economy that today are using combustion processes with fossil fuels. These are more efficient technologies, right? An electric car is more efficient than an internal combustion engine car. We see the total energy bill for our average customer, electric plus gas plus gasoline, going down by 40% in real terms between now and 2045. So that goes to these investments having a co-benefit of affordability. And so as we look at how we, proceed with this kind of investment, we have to keep in mind that it has those multiple benefits.
So, but all of it has
Yeah.
to work
Yeah.
at the same time for that to be that 40% decline.
Absolutely, and we need to be able to get the steel in the ground through siting and permitting.
Right.
Yep.
And so part of our analysis showed that the rate at which we add transmission will need to be 4 times the annual rate that it's
Wow.
been historically. The rate at which we add distribution, the lower voltage wires, will need to be 10 times the rate. So when David Crane talked about siting and permitting, absolutely needed. And it's help that we need at both the federal and the state and even the local levels.
Before we let you go, when you talk about types of energy, what are you looking at? What means green to you?
A lot of things, and we need all of it, right? It's the traditional renewables that are commercially available today, like onshore wind, solar, geothermal. It's new technologies, offshore wind, next generation geothermal that might be using horizontal drilling techniques. It's nuclear, right? Because nuclear is carbon free, and so investments needed there. Storage. Today we're really relying on lithium-ion chemistry. We need different chemistries, and the Department of Energy has been a prime mover in investing, putting our tax dollars to good work to find alternate chemistries. So it really is all of the above.